I'm going to show you several different ways to stay in the same spot and play different chords on the guitar. So let's dive in. Now, I'm a big fan of being lazy, especially when it comes to playing guitar, because I don't want to have to keep jumping back and forth. For example, if I'm in C and I'm up here playing in my minor pentatonic scale, and I need to go to my 4 chord, I need to go to the F chord, I don't want to have to jump all the way back down here in order to play an F. There are ways that you can stay in the same spot in order to play different chords. And the first one, might actually be somewhat common knowledge when it comes to guitar, but then I'm going to show you a couple of variations that you can do. So one is this bar chord. So if we're making this E shape and we move it around, for example, I move it up here to the 8th fret, I'm making a C chord. And like I mentioned before, I don't want to have to come back down here to play my F chord. So if I'm up here playing in C, I can just make this power chord here, and that would make my F chord. Now, the way I get that, the way I'm thinking about it, is this is actually my A chord moved up. So if I move it up to the 5th fret, I get C. To the 7th fret, I get D. To the 9th fret, I get E. And if I move it up to the 10th fret, I get an F chord. So right here where I'm playing my C bar chord, I lay my finger flat and I can get the F chord. Now, if I need to go to my 5 chord, to my G, I can take this F and move it 2 frets up, and that gets me my G chord. So I go C, F, and G, and so I can play everything kind of right here. There's another way to do this, though, is if you play this C chord, and you play the F right here, you can make a C7th shape and play your G7th. So once again, the way I'm thinking about this, I make a C7th, move it up 2, I get a D7th, move it up 2 more, I get an E7th, up 1, I get an F7th, and then up here to the 8th fret, I get a G7th. So now I don't have to move from that fret at all. I make a C chord, an F chord, and a G7th chord all right here. Now, if you're like me, and I know a lot of y'all have wrist problems, and so making a bar chord and making these power chords can sometimes hurt your wrist. So there is another way to do this, and that is to make an F shape. So right where you would make your bar chord, you can just make an F shape there, and that is playing a C chord as well. And if you just lay this finger flat, that would be making your 4 chord, and then make that C7th shape, and that would make your 5 chord. So that's one really easy way to just stay in the same spot and play your 1, 4, and 5 chord. This even is beneficial if you're trying to play in like strange keys. Like I play with a guy who he wants to do a song in E flat. It's just the only way he knows how to play that song, and I'm not a huge fan of playing in E flat, but I don't freak out when he wants to play in E flat, because I know my E is on the 12th fret, and I can move it down just 1 fret, still play this F shape, that is an E flat. If I want to go to the 4 chord, I lay my finger flat. If I want to go to the 5 chord, I can make that C7th shape right there. So that's an easy way to play in these strange keys. Or if I wanted to do this in, say, A flat, well, I know where my A is right here on the 5th fret. I just move it down 1 fret, and now I can play my A flat, my D flat, and my E flat 7, all right here without ever having to move. Another neat shape that allows you not to have to move very much is this A shape. So if I once again take this A shape and say I move it up here to the 5th fret, that becomes C. Well, there's a way I can make my F chord, and that's this shape right here. So your 1 chord, your 4 chord, and then if you wanted to make your 5 chord, you can move it up here. So take that same shape and move it up 2 frets, that would be your 5 chord. Or another way to do this would be your 1 chord, your 4 chord, and then go down 2 frets and make this F shape or your bar chord, either one. And so you're playing 1, 4, and 5 right here using this A shape as your 1. Another movable chord that allows you to do this is this D shape. So let's just come up here to the 9th and the 10th fret. If I make a D shape right here, that's an A chord. So I can play my 1 chord there being A, and then now I need to make a D chord. Well, I can make this F shape 1 fret up, and that makes my 4 chord. So I had my 1 chord, my 4 chord, and from my 5 chord, I can move this 4 chord up 2 frets, but there's an easier way to do this. So I had my 1 chord, my 4 chord was right here, 1 fret up. My 5 chord is making this A shape right where I was. So where your 1 chord is, you make your A shape, and there is your 5 chord. So 1 chord, your 4 chord, your 5 chord, and back to your 1. So those are several different ways that are really easy and not have to move around. You can play your 1, 4, and your 5 right there in the same spot, so that when you're playing leads somewhere, you don't have to worry about jumping back and forth to go in between playing rhythm and playing lead. You can play everything right where you're at. This also allows you to play in some strange chords if somebody is wanting to play in some sort of strange key. So I really do hope this helps. And as always, if you need something, just reach out to me. I'll be glad to help you.